Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Unlocked podcast, the podcast where we unlock the latest tech news, leaks, and rumors, in particular in the world of Apple. And today we're also going to be talking a little bit about Android, finally, because there's finally been some Android news, and also about Elon Musk and Twitter. So we're joined by a very special guest, but before we introduce our special guest, I am one of your hosts, Benji from BenObi Tech. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Taylor from Mr. Smartwatch. And today we have Drew from Tailosive Tech, who many of you already know. Me and Taylor have interacted with him in the past and stuff. We're big supporters of his channel, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well.
Thank you.
It's awesome to have you here, Drew. How have you been? How are things?
I've been pretty good. I feel a little sick today, so I apologize for coughing. But yeah, I'm glad to be back on. I'm honored and excited to catch up with you guys because it's been at least a couple years for both of you.
Yeah. I don't think we've had like a one-to-one conversation, at least me and you, since before my mission. So it's been good.
Sure.
It's gonna be fun. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a very long list of topics to cover. A few of them aren't too long, nothing to talk about that much with some things. But we're going to be talking about iPhone 14. Big surprise. Nobody saw that one coming. That's like we talk about that on the show every single week. There's a new leak or a rumor.
There's no way around it.
Exactly. That's the only way we get views anyway. So we're also going to be talking about some other claims that Gurman has been making about M3 Imacs, which is exciting. We're also going to be talking a little bit more about another stupid thing the EU wants to do to restrict tech companies. We also have Apple Cash changing from some brand, I can't remember what it was, to Visa. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Android with how the Android market is shrinking in comparison to iOS. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the Pixel Watch, which apparently there's been a big leak for that. Pixel 6 Pro. We're also going to give some love to the Galaxy, to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. We've got some news about that. And finally, if you tune into the end of the show or nearing the end, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk and his hostile takeover, some people are saying, of Twitter. And then we're going to ask Drew some questions if we have time about some things that we want to talk to him about. So to start off, I guess we can start off with the first topic we have here, which is iPhone 14, which is said to come in a brand new color, which is purple. So that's exciting for all of you purple fans out there. So guys, what are your thoughts?
Product red still.
I do as well.
Yeah,
I think
that's my go-to.
I think a crimson red would be pretty sick to have.
That would be awesome.
Crimson red, yeah.
That would be awesome.
So what are your thoughts on this new purple color?
I guess it's expected because I've heard that they have a hard time getting like saturated colors right with stainless steel on the chassis. So that means they always have to do these like muted darker colors, which they've done blue 2 years in a row now. They did like Pacific blue and then Sierra blue. So I guess the next inevitable step is like a very light, mild shade of purple. That's my wife's favorite color, so she probably would like that one. But it's just a bummer because I can imagine what the product red with the steel would look like, and it looks so good, but I have a feeling they're just not gonna do what I want this year.
Yeah. So. I think either a product red one would be really nice, but even like a proper black, because I think graphite isn't exactly like a jet black type color.
No.
Or even a gloss white, I think would be really sick, like a ceramic white iPhone.
Oh yeah.
I think Samsung did it with the S10. They had a ceramic white, and that one looked really good. And even like Apple's done it before with the ceramic Apple Watches, and those looked really good. So it would be really cool if they did release something like that. But I guess purple is out there for people who like purple. I don't know what do you think, Taylor?
Man, you know what? Like, I feel like they're going to be. I really feel that, honestly, new colors are always welcome to me. But I'd like to see some of the old ones. I don't know if they're gonna do any of the old ones. Even like from like past generations, iPhones would be cool to bring back some colors. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think jet black is definitely one they have to bring back at some point.
Yes,
Except it's not.
that's
Except
exactly what I
now,
was thinking.
because I think the problem with jet black back in the day was it was all aluminum, so it
Right.
scratched really easily because of the coating. And so I think if they did it
Yep.
now, it's like the iPhone 10 had a pretty dark like rail, which was pretty good, and it didn't really scratch that much, at least in my experience. So I think it would work. It would work if they did that with a completely black back. That would be really nice. It would really fit into that kind of, if you want to have the more like colors that are turned off or turned off colors, whatever.
Yeah.
In your ecosystem.
I don't know about you guys, but I was not happy with the iPhone 13 color lineup. I thought it was muted.
That's the reason. That's one of the reasons why I didn't go with the Pro lineup this year. I went with the regular 13 mini. Well, regular,
that's a good one.
13 mini, yeah. So I went with I originally got red, but then my mom got a blue by accident when she wanted to get a pink one, so we just swapped. So now I have blue. But yeah, like the Pro colors are kind of like, the graphite is okay, the silver's okay, but then you've got like the gold is kind of and then you've got the Sierra blue,
Baby
which I think
blue.
is it's way too baby blue. And I think that's all the colors, right? Oh yeah, and now we've got
graphite was the closest to matte black I could get. That's why I went with graphite, but I'm still not in love with it.
Yeah, like it's not exactly black. It's not exactly black or anything. It's kind of more of a gray than anything. Space gray.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's like the 53rd shade of space gray we have.
Pretty much. About that point, I think. Yeah. Remember like the slate black they had in the iPhone 5 days?
Oh, I loved that one. Even they had the matte black on the 7 and the 7 Plus. That one was really nice as well. That was very close.
Yeah, that was really nice.
The iPhone 5 one.
Yeah. I had the matte. I had all those. I had the slate black iPhone 5, and then I had the matte black iPhone 7 at launch because jet black was really hard to get. And then later, like halfway through the year, I switched to jet black just because I thought it looked so clean. And I did not use a case, so it got a lot of micro scratches.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I've had a slate iPhone 5 as well, and I used an iPhone 7 Plus for a couple months last year before I got the 13 mini, and I got a black one because I mean it was the only color. I got like a really, really good deal for it, so I was like, I mean, yeah. Plus the matte black was super, super nice as well. So
nice. Cool.
Yeah, it'll be cool I mean, for those who like purple, I guess they're gonna be excited for this, but personally, personally, it's like, nah.
Just give us
a proper black or a white.
First iPhone I'm not planning on upgrading to in a while.
Yeah.
And this is not swaying me.
Exactly. You must get the purple one, Drew. You must get it because
all the YouTubers will, that's for sure. In the thumbnails.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This purple's amazing. It's like you're only saying it's amazing because it's a new color, and like, you're gonna get bored of it after a week. You're gonna actually I kind of wanted this other color.
And the way I think of it too is like, I know a lot of people run caseless, but there's a lot of people who are gonna put cases on this thing. So it's like, you know,
the color doesn't even matter at that point.
Exactly.
Unless you have a clear case, it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
for sure. Agreed.
But anyway, I guess we can move on to the next topic, Taylor, if you wanna read the headline.
Sure. So the iPhone 14 is rumored to feature rounder design to match larger rear camera array. I did see a video on this, and I mean, I honestly never noticed that there wasn't like, you know, a match to it. But I mean, this is, you know, really good. I think that a lot of people, especially if you have like OCD and stuff, a lot of people are going to be happy about this. So, you know, so what are your thoughts, Benji?
I think the rounder edges make it look nicer, but I can only imagine now the memes they're going to start.
Oh yeah, no,
the iPhone eventually becoming circular or something like that.
It's just going to be an oval.
Exactly. It's an oval.
That's the direction.
This is the oval iPhone. Yeah, exactly. No, but honestly, I kind of like I love the like the curved edges on the iPhone currently, and I think if it's even more curved, like cool. As long as it doesn't like make that much of a difference in terms of usability, I'm fine with it. But
True.
yeah,
If they
well,
go
what are
too
your thoughts,
far,
Drew?
if you go too far, it can cut in on the usable screen space. But what I was just comparing on my desk here was the fact that the iPhone curvature matches my iPad curvature, and it also matches my MacBook curvature. So they're all like the same radius of each other, which I really like
That's
that
cool.
symmetry when possible. So if they start curving in so much that it doesn't really match, that like Taylor said, might go in on my OCD a little bit, but not a deal breaker. Most people aren't comparing them next to each other like that. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, now that I'm looking at my devices, I can kind of notice it as well. Yeah, pretty cool.
I just want to know if it's like noticeably, like, can you pick it up and just register, oh, it is more rounded, or would you only notice in side by sides?
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things that, I mean, some people will notice it straight away, of course. But then you've also got the thinner bezels, which might even be one of the reasons why it's being changed slightly.
Right.
But I don't
That's
know.
probably the thing I'm most excited for, is just a slightly thinner
Yeah,
bezel all
thinner,
the
but
way around.
it's not really gonna change anyone's life, but you know, it's still a nice change.
I
It's
noticed those types of things
closer to
a
the
lot.
full. Yeah. Especially if it's 20, it's gonna be 20% thinner, or yeah, thinner. So
Most
I
of the
mean, nice
time
and
people
slimmer.
don't bring attention to that, but like when I use the iPhone 10R after using the iPhone 10, I did not really notice much that it wasn't OLED. What I picked up on was the side bezel being so much thicker. I was like,
Oh
that was
yeah.
far more noticeable than the OLED lack of OLED to me. So I think I might have a similar experience if I look at a 14. I'll be like, oh wow, the bezels are noticeably thinner all the way around.
Yeah,
Which I
I noticed the same thing. My brother has a 10R, and sometimes I go like from my phone, I start using his, and it's like, whoa, these bezels are huge. Even like
they
when I
are.
use my iPad, even when I use my iPad, it's like, oh, these bezels are so much thicker than my
Oh
phone.
yeah.
So
Throughout the whole ecosystem, the iPad's bezels are now pretty much the thickest.
yeah, and I mean, me and you, Drew, we have iPad Pros, right? So
Mhm.
and those are a lot thinner than like the iPad Air, I think, and
Yeah.
the Mini. So because I remember I saw the Mini the other day, and I was like, those bezels are a lot thicker than mine.
I don't know if they're
Hey
thicker or if
Benji,
they
if you
just seem thicker because it's smaller.
They might see, yeah, they might seem thicker. I don't know. They look thicker to me. But you
I
were gonna
think
say
they
something,
are
Taylor?
because it's like the iPad Air versus Pro. The Air is like 10.9 inches and
Yeah,
the Pro is 11. So it's like
yeah.
very slightly thinner on the Pros, but it's
yeah.
very
It's just
soft.
like point oh 1 millimeter or something, 0.1
Yeah.
millimeter, whatever.
These are the details that matter. This is what we pick up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
yeah. But anyway, Taylor, do you have any comments on this further, or should we move on?
No, we can move on.
All right. So next up, we are talking about iMac. Apparently, according to Mark Gurman, an iMac with the M3 chip is already in the works and could be released later next year.
Whoa.
So it's pretty crazy. We've only started hearing about M2, and now we're hearing about M3 already. It's like, wow, they're
Next year?
they're
That
really,
quick?
yeah. I was shocked as
Yeah.
well when I saw next year.
If
But you never
anything, that
know. Gurman is sometimes incorrect on things.
that's
So
true. You gotta take everything with some salt, but I hope that means we're getting M2 like in June. If M3 is coming next year,
Yeah.
they better get moving on M2 now.
yeah, because I think I heard like this cycle was supposed to be like every year and a half they cycle
Mm,
out new chips and things like that.
right.
Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
so if they have to release one in June and then release the M3 at the end of next year or
Mm.
something like that.
Mhm.
How do you guys
Yeah.
Um,
feel about the current iMac lineup, which is basically just one iMac?
I mean, I would like to see an iMac Pro, but I kind of see why we don't have one at least right now. Because I mean, the Mac Studio is still a really good buy, and like you can get the
Yeah.
studio display and stuff like that. You can also like the thing I like about getting like something like a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio is you can pair it with whatever displays you want and how
Mhm.
many displays you want, and you can have them all
Right.
look the same as well. Because if you get an iMac, yes, you could get an extra display, but it's not going to look the same. And it kind of like,
True.
for those who care about kind of like aesthetics and like seeing everything be uniform and the same, I kind of see it from that perspective. But I mean, I think still, I'm hoping Apple comes out with an iMac Pro, because that would just make things a lot better for like especially people who want to have like an all-in-one design for for their pro workflows. But yeah, so I mean, I don't really care because I'm not going to buy one, but you know, for those who will, because I'm perfectly content with my MacBook Pro, and if I ever want to stick an extra couple monitors, I'll just do that. So
true, that makes sense. How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, so I recently, like probably over a year ago by now, got the 2020 13-inch MacBook Pro, and I mean, when it comes to the like MacBook or iPads, honestly, like I just use them when I'm home, and I'll never take them on the go. So like, whatever works, if it still works, then I'm fine. But I've been thinking of switching them out just to have a little bit more power and storage space for for video content and stuff. I don't know about you guys, but like when I'm done with a video, I usually delete it. I know I shouldn't because you never know when you're gonna need some footage and some proof. But you know, I think
or YouTube decides to take down your video for whatever reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that too. That too. You've mentioned that way too much, Benji, and I feel like it's gonna happen to me one day. But
you could delete you could delete the iMovie or Final Cut Pro project, but like the finished video, always a good idea to keep it stored on a hard drive or something.
I was actually going back onto like iMovie, and I don't like. I went to my projects, and I'm like, I have way too many projects on this thing. That's so bad.
I have the same problem. For sure.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, I recently got a 1 terabyte MacBook Pro, and like I've only had it less than a month, and I've almost filled up all the storage with Final Cut Pro projects.
Oh yeah.
I need to start deleting some stuff because it's gonna get out of hand in a minute.
Me too. I fill up terabytes very quickly, unfortunately.
How much have you filled up your MacBook so far?
Well,
you got 8 terabytes, right?
I did. I went crazy. It's loading. So I've used it says I have 5.5 terabytes left. So I guess that means 2.5. I've used 2.5 so far. So I do delete a roll. So like the footage of just me talking. Once that's posted, I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna feel nostalgic and want this footage later. It's already on YouTube's servers, and I'm posting my videos on podcast services now. So I'm like, okay, a lot of things would have to go wrong for this to be erased from the internet. But it's also tech content, which a lot of which becomes dated within, a couple months. So
yeah,
that's why I'm okay with deleting the A roll. But yeah, I do still keep a copy of the completed video file. I don't know why. I probably shouldn't anymore. But like you said, in case YouTube takes my videos down, which they haven't really. At least not.
But you never know.
So right now I have like let me see 697.9 98 gigabytes of 1 terabyte. So I still have a little bit. Yeah, I guess.
Oh wow.
I don't know how.
It's all other, right? It's all system.
Yeah, probably.
System storage takes up so much nowadays. I remember when it used to be. I remember on my iPhone it used to be like 1 or 2 gigs, and now it's like half of the phone is basically a system.
That's what's gonna happen to my laptop. I'll have 8 terabytes, and it'll be like 7.9 terabytes of system. Other.
Yeah, like 10 years down the line.
Yep.
When we've got Mac OS, like I don't know what Mac OS are going to be in 10 years.
Weed.
Probably like 12 Mac OS weed. they just couldn't come up with a name, so they're just like, oh, whatever.
Mac OS whatever.
My question is like how
macOS whatever 5.
yeah.
It's been 5 generations since they couldn't come up with a name.
Right. My question is like how do they come up with these names? You know, like every year I feel like there's gonna be one point where they're just gonna run out. I feel like, you know, I'm just waiting for that one day that they ask that they make a poll on Twitter or something and be like, so what do you guys think? This, or this?
Yeah.
Because I remember when they used to call them after like cats. There was like leopard, snow leopard.
Yeah.
I remember what some of the others.
Yeah.
And then they switched to like, what was it after that?
California
Was it deserts?
locations.
California. Yeah, California locations. And then they went to like deserts or something. And then now I don't even know what they are.
It seems to mostly be California centered, but then they registered a macOS Mammoth recently. So some people think it's going to be Mammoth, but I feel like iOS will eventually have to go down that route because how many times can you just keep using the number like iOS 18, iOS 27, iOS 64?
53.
Yeah.
It gets old and it starts to sound less exciting. And I think it's already getting there with 15, 16, 17, 18. So I'm curious how long they want to keep the number scheme going.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with like the iPhone lineup. Like they still keep going iPhone 13, 14, 15. Like are they ever going to change them? Because I mean the iPads don't exactly have that anymore. They're just like iPad 2022 or whatever.
Yeah, they just call them iPad.
Yeah, which makes things confusing. Like when you're typing to Apple support and they're like, I have a 5th generation 12.9-inch iPad Pro with M1 or whatever.
You don't have the
long
number.
name it is.
You have to go by some other thing. Now you got to list the screen size or you got to list the year, which is usually not easier. That's why I like just saying 13 Pro Max. Even though that's a lot of syllables, it's easier than saying the 6.7-inch Pro iPhone from 2021. You know, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, exactly.
At least Apple's not like Sony where they name their headphones like the WX3513992
Have you seen
Ultra or whatever.
Toyota names their cars? Oh
no, what do they name them?
Well, it reminds me of Sony. I feel like the guy who names products at Sony moved to Toyota because they had a new EV come out called the BZ4X.
Oh my days.
What the heck?
And then there's like other trims, so it's like BZ4X Pro, PZ4X all-wheel drive. So it's like this giant list of. It's like,
or maybe it's the son of the guy that went to Toyota. Yeah, my father does this over in Sony. It must work.
Yeah. They're gonna collaborate.
Money.
Sony and Toyota are gonna get together and create the longest name for a product of all time.
Yeah.
The Toyota Sony car 35X2197 Ultra Plus Max.
The name of the product is longer than the serial number. That's the goal.
Yeah.
I think already there are some products that are like that.
Probably.
But anyway, I think we're kind of going off topic here at this point.
We've gone far from the iMac subject, haven't we?
Oh yeah, for sure. But now I guess unless you guys have any other like comments on M3 and iMac and stuff like that, we can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, no.
I've departed from the iMac, I guess, just because they gave us the white bezeled, colorful chin iMac, and I'm like, that's not what I wanted. Studio display is the closest thing to my dream iMac, so
they come out with the
I don't understand how they did that
with the iMac Pro, and they have white bezels on it as well.
Oh no.
I would have much preferred what just like the whole color
oh yeah,
all the way around. And then they suddenly came out with this white screen, and I'm looking at it during the event, and I'm just like, why? I remember even like messaging or emailing Benji and being like, yo, like, no.
What are they doing?
I'm like,
What?
This would be a good time for you to come back so we can stream and just like rip these
Yeah.
guys' heads off.
This is I just had an idea for what they could do with the iMac Pro if they were to go ahead and do it. Do it with like black bezels, but like the color of the thing, make it the same color as like the Pro iPhone lineup, just so like
Yeah.
it like matches it in a way. I mean, even though
Yeah.
it's stainless steel and aluminum, but I think it'd be cool if they all matched the same color. But
That would
knowing
be
Apple, they probably won't do that. And
They'll
if they
mess
do,
it.
they'll probably do it at a completely different shade from. They'll still call it the same color. It's still gonna be green, but it's gonna be like yeah, completely different green.
Right.
But anyway, moving on. So our next topic is a pretty interesting and I guess a little bit of a deep topic. So basically, there's a leaked EU document which could spell major changes for App Store, Messages, FaceTime, browsers, and Siri. I don't know if you guys have like had time or seen this in the news, but
I
basically,
saw this
what
a
I
little bit.
understand from it is that basically the EU is going to force Apple to allow like third-party apps to be used as the main one. So kind of like, for example, Siri right now is the only smart assistant you can use natively on the iPhone. The EU wants to like put a law that changes that, where Apple has to be forced to allow like Google Assistant or Alexa or whatever to be used instead.
Dude, no.
Which
That's
and this
that's
goes and the same goes with some of the other services as well. Like they don't want because I think right now web browsers on iPad OS and iOS and macOS they need to run on like WebKit or something like that. I can't remember what the name was of the thing, but they want to like change that where they can just create their own thing and they can still run on iOS and stuff. But what do you guys think about all this?
I think I side with Taylor that it sounds like a bad idea just because these are what a lot of the advantages of going with different companies' hardware is so that you can get certain software that is best optimized through their hardware. And it sounds like, I mean, I do side with the EU on making Type C a standard, so I don't disagree with everything with the EU, but on this side of the subject, I'm like, yeah, I don't think this really helps anything because it's probably just going to result in a more complicated setup. So
and
when you're setting up the phone, it has to ask you, okay, which browser do you want? Which music streaming app do you want? Which digital assistant do you want? And that's not why people buy iPhones, is so that they can have unlimited options. It's because they want, the Apple streamlined experience.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, luckily the EU moves very slow on things, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
convinced that even if they got this passed, it would probably not be enacted for a long, long time. Um, and because it's so kind of unreasonable, I have a feeling it won't be passed. They'll probably fight it in court for a long time, and it won't become law. But yeah, if you're trying to get rid of all the software advantages from every phone and stuff, you're just going to be. I mean, all the hardware is blurring into each other. It's just going to be like, do you want the Apple rectangle or the Samsung rectangle? And they all have the same cameras. Samsung's already making everyone's displays, and
Yeah.
Sony makes everyone's cameras, and TSMC is making a bunch of the chips. So it's like, what would be the point in having multiple options if all the options are the same thing at the end of the day? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking about this on last week's episode about the USB Type C thing about how the EU is trying to force Apple into doing things like that. And like what some of the thoughts that I shared were kind of like, I don't think a government or like the EU, for example, should dictate what a company does in those kind of things. Like, of course, USB-C it kind of makes sense because if it becomes a standard, then there's less cables that need to be made, less ports that need to be made, kind of thing. They're just all uniform. But then there's also the question like, what happens when USB-D comes out, or whatever they're going to call it, the next big USB charging thing, if there will be one, unless it's wireless. Like, what's going to happen then? Are they going to just switch to that and then make that the standard kind of thing? And how long is it going to take them to do that? But I think even with this, like they're kind of crossing the line here, where they're like removing like the freedom that companies have to create whatever they want. Because I mean, there's not really any reason why they should change this kind of thing. Like, yes, it'll make things easier for some users who maybe want to use Google Assistant on their phone instead of Siri, that can be dumb and not hear you sometimes. But still, I think it should be like a decision that the company makes, not the government, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes sense to me. I agree. I just happen to want USB-C on the iPhone, so I don't necessarily agree with the method, but if it makes it happen, then I'm all for it. It's like,
Yeah.
they're going to want a certain amount of power. The only reason I'm not worried about USB-D is because they intentionally made Type-C to be the last port. Like, the entire creation of that was, let's make one standard that can do everything. Let's make one port that can do power, data, video, audio, all at the same time. And it hasn't necessarily replaced every port, but I think in a lot of ways it has become the most popular standard across, like, most phones have it outside of the iPhone, of course, and tablets have it now, Macs have it now, PCs have it now, and it's like so versatile and so capable. They even have phones that are, or laptops now that, can do 140 watts over Type-C. And they're doing Thunderbolt 4 speeds on them, so like 40 gigabits per second, and they're working on a newer version of it that can handle 80 gigabits per second. So it's like, I don't think we need to change the shape anymore. So that's where I probably side with the EU a little bit and just say, like, let's just agree on one and stick with it. And I'm not convinced there will be some other way superior shape in the future. It's like we've got a lot of overhead in the USB-C connector as is that we're definitely not anywhere close to on iPhones. Like we say, Apple should be able to, improve the port over time as they want. They came up with Lightning 3.0 for the 2017 iPads, but they're still using Lightning 2.0 on iPhones into 2021. It's like these are still USB 2.0 speeds, even though they've already developed a connector with the exact same shape that can be faster. They're just choosing not to use it. So I don't think they have a plan to surpass Thunderbolt 4 on the phone anytime soon. So I'm kind of like, let's just rip off the Band-Aid. It might annoy some people, but at least I could just take one charger on a trip and charge everything.
Yeah. Or just switch everything to wireless.
Yeah. I'm sure the e-waste argument would hold up very well. Now, all your cables are useless.
Yeah, exactly. No more cables. We'll throw them all away. We'll have like 5 years of just the Earth is going to become in such a state because of all the cables. But no. Yeah. There's another. Oh yeah. Something that's gonna be interesting. This is a little bit kind of going off the USB-C topic, of like the EU kind of forcing companies to do it, because like, yes, everybody thinks, oh, Apple's going to be really affected by this because of the iPhone and some of the accessories they sell that aren't Type-C. But then you also have to think about all those like brands that in China that create products that and they ship them to like parts of the EU, because of course this law is currently going to be instated in the EU, but it will affect like companies all over the world, really, because then when a company creates a product for the US, they most likely will also sell it in Europe. It's gonna be interesting to see like those Chinese companies that they still ship things to this day with micro USB to charge just because it's cheaper. It's gonna be interesting to see how many of them will be finally transitioning to USB-C after all of these years of still using micro USB, which is a very, very, very inferior port nowadays.
Oh yes.
Big no. Yeah, big no. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. I want to see how that will pan out.
You disagree, Taylor, or are you on Benji's side on this one?
Yeah, I think I'm on Benji's side on this one.
Fair enough.
Cool. Well, Taylor, do you wanna move on to the next topic, unless you guys have any other comments about this whole discussion?
That is a deep one. But yeah. Otherwise they can talk all day on that one.
Yeah. And we don't have that, so
right. Yeah. So you want me to do it, Benji?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So just 3% of U.S. iPhone sales in March quarter were iPhone 13 mini models. Man, a lot of people are going through
So
that mini,
bad.
huh?
Not a lot of people. It's crazy. Like, I mean, if I think about it, like when I go, I think me and Taylor were having this discussion on our last episode as well. Like when we go out and stuff, and we see people with iPhones or whatever, or we have friends that have iPhones, you don't normally see anybody with a mini. I mean, I only know probably like 2 or 3 people, like 3 people who have a mini
Yeah.
iPhone, and that's it. And that's like family members. But I think most of the iPhones I've seen out, at least of the 13 lineup, is either the 13 or the 13 Pro. And then there's the occasional 13 Pro Max, but like the 13 and the 13 Pro I think are the most popular as of right now. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it also says on this article. So, but it's interesting, like only 3% of like smartphone sales in America were iPhone 13 minis. Like that's pretty crazy.
Makes me
Yeah, that
sad.
is.
Makes me
like
sad as well.
I
Yeah,
really
I
I really enjoyed it.
I love my 13 mini, but there was going to be no 14 mini. And this is
Mm.
probably one of the biggest reasons why, which makes sense. I mean, not everybody wants a small iPhone. If they really want a small iPhone, they could go get the SE, even though it's got bezels and a home button. But you know,
That's what I'd
I
ask you guys.
personally
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead, man.
I was just going to ask, do you think it's because of the size or the price that it's not selling well?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's the price exactly, because I mean, it's priced like it's the cheapest iPhone that you can buy, like the newer ones at
Yeah,
least of the
yeah,
newer lineup.
Of the 13, yeah.
But then I guess you are trading off a couple of things, like you're trading off the battery, like the better battery life and things like that. I can't remember what else you're trading off
Really?
from
That's
the
it.
regular 13. I think that's it, yeah. Which I mean, the battery life, like I have a 13 mini and it lasts me throughout the day, even though I'm mostly charging my phone. Like right now, my phone is charging. It's on a MagSafe charger.
Mhm.
But of course, a lot of people they'll be plugging it in and taking it out and using it and stuff. And so like yes, the battery life has improved over the 12 mini, but I think maybe the 13 mini isn't selling that well because a lot of people didn't like the 12 mini simply because of the battery life and because it didn't last that long. And so they
Yeah.
were kind of like, oh, 13 mini, slightly better battery life, but I'm going to go with like a 13 this time or a 13 Pro Max and have like 5-day battery life for however long that thing lasts. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that it didn't sell as much, and it makes sense that I think they're getting rid of it. And I think it probably is because of I think mainly the battery more than the size. I think a lot of people like the smaller iPhone. But if they trade off things like the battery life, which is one of the most important things on a phone, then yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
I'm sorry. I interrupted Taylor. I wanted to hear what he was going to say.
No, I was just gonna say that like I think that a lot of people were kind of disappointed on the 12 mini.
Yeah.
So and that's why they haven't gone for the 13. You know, yeah, it does have significantly a much better battery. But a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't investigate into that, so they just automatically think, this phone's junk because it's smaller, and so
The damage had already been done by the time the
right,
13
right,
comes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because
It's a shame because
I
I
think
want them to keep doing that,
Yeah.
it's a great phone. Like there's a lot of people that don't like the bigger phones. Like my mom, for example, she hates bigger phones and she loves her mini. She says it's like it's the perfect size for her. It's got a big display, but at the same time, it's got a small form factor that can be easy to carry around and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be sad to see the
I-
mini lineup go, but it makes sense. Like in terms of sales, like Apple at the end of the day is a company. They need to make money or need to make money. They like to make money. So
I always
yeah.
say money for a company is like breathing for a organism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
If they're not making money, they're like, oh, I'm dying.
yeah, they
Dying right
don't.
here.
A company can't exist without money. Like the same reason we can't exist without air. So it's like they need to be making something, otherwise they can't exist, because a company is basically just a collective brand paying a bunch of engineers and contractors and people, and it's, if you're not spending anything, you can't do anything. So
Right.
they got to make
Exactly,
their
yeah.
money, but at the same time, I know a lot of, like, my sister uses my 12 mini now and she really loves it, and my brother-in-law uses one and he loves it. So like most of the people I talk to who have tried the 12 or 13 mini all really appreciate it, but I just feel like not enough people gave it a chance. Like not enough people were willing to try it out. And especially nowadays, like it's so easy to find a charger near your desk or in the car. It's like
Yeah.
people act like, oh, if the battery is bad, it's unusable or I can't. But it's like you can live with a under max sized battery. You can get by. And I lived with the 12 mini for 10 months, and there were only a handful of times where I needed to top it off before the end of the day. But they were not like, it was not like frustrating or annoying. Oh no, I gotta charge it. It's like, oh, it's just low, I'll just top it off. But
Yeah.
I feel confident saying if the 13 mini had 120 hertz, I absolutely would have bought that over the Pro Max, because it came in the product red, which was my favorite color of all the new phones, including the Pros. Only reason I went with this was for the high refresh rate. That's the only reason.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I guess even like the battery, I think I completely agree with you, Drew. Like a lot of people, they have chargers everywhere now. Like
Right.
for example, I've got one on my desk, I've got one on my bedside, I've got one in my car, and
Exactly.
like whenever, and I'm usually in one or of those three places during the day. Like I work from home,
Yeah.
and so like just putting the phone on the charger while I'm
Mm-hmm.
working. It's, if I need to go out, stick it in the car charger in the car. Everything's MagSafe. It just works. But there are
For
some
sure.
people that, of course, and I think even to add to that, like I'm not constantly, I'm one of those people who's on my phone all day. I've got an iPad. I have a MacBook that I use as well. I've got an Apple Watch that I receive notifications, sometimes responds to text on. So I think for people like us, battery life isn't that important in a way, but there are
Mhm.
still those people who just have one charger and they just carry it around the house or carry it around with them whenever they need to charge. And stuff like that. But I guess there always are even the options of like the MagSafe battery packs and everything, which are
That's
really
true.
good, which are much better than battery packs used to be. Because
Yeah.
you just slap it to the back of the iPhone and you're good. You no need for a cable, no need for anything.
And you can take it
And
off
and
when you need to.
exactly, and a lot of them charge via USB-C, which is nice, but Apple's
Oh.
does not, which sucks.
Yeah. Come on,
I'm still
Andrew.
waiting. I'm still waiting for the day that we have one cord for every product. Like
I know.
I keep saying this.
Oh, I would love it.
Oh man. I mean, granted,
You just have like a
we
MagSafe mat and it just charges everything.
dude, I keep saying that. How many
Yeah.
times have I said this, even on the podcast? Like,
Mm.
bro, I think that it would just be so much better, especially when you're at your workstation,
Mm.
whether it be at home or at a real place. I think
Yeah.
it's just so much better, and um, you know, less space for your desk,
Right.
or more space for your desk, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I was a bit disappointed when
I
Apple reintroduced MagSafe with the MacBook Pros, because I was hoping that they were going to introduce like a better type of MagSafe that was kind of like the iPhone MagSafe, because then you could create like a charging mat. And like my idea for like a MagSafe charging MacBook is like the legs at the bottom, make them slightly bigger, but they're magnetic, and you have this magnetic charging pad that you can plug USB-C in or whatever, and you just snap it to the mat and then it charges. You just take it
That
off
would be
and
cool.
whatever.
Like AirPower.
And then you could charge your iPhone. Yeah, exactly, like AirPower, but on steroids.
Yeah,
Then you'd have your iPhone
I don't-
charger, your Apple Watch charger, and everything. It'd be pretty cool.
Benji, I know you made I know you saw my video about the dead power, Drew. I don't know if you did. It was a while ago, but
I'm trying to
was-
remember if I did, but
that was like when it was all happening. Because I remember like going back and forth, and like one day saying, "Hey, it's coming." Next day, it's like it's not coming anymore. I'm
Right.
just like, what's going on here?
That was such
Yeah.
a weird chapter in Apple's history.
So weird. So
Very
weird. I
bizarre.
was so disappointed. You don't even know. I was telling my family, I'm like, listen, I don't care how much this is. I'm getting it because I really need this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It was
I
a
think
great
everybody
idea until
does.
it exploded.
True. True.
Fortunately, it
Yeah,
never came to market, but
Yeah.
just because it
Like the
exploded.
Note 7.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't want, and I think it might have even been worse in some ways because it's sitting at your home. You're just like out and about, and then you come home and you have no home.
Yeah.
So,
Come home
but
and
I
you
mean,
have
AirPower would have been good if they really like managed to deliver on it, but I guess they didn't. Maybe in the future
yeah.
they'll come up with a different
Yeah.
thing. They'll come up with ceiling power where you just put a thing in the ceiling and it like charges all your devices in your room.
You just everyone gets microwaved at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I look a bit sunburnt today. I wonder why.
You got
Oh,
sunburned.
boy.
Oh yeah, it's because I got that charger.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
Moving on.
Yes.
So next topic is new Apple Pay Cash accounts now branded as Visa cards, which is kind of exciting because I mean, as of right now, I think they're using Discover or whatever. I don't know. I don't have Apple Pay Cash here. It's like
Right.
a US,
I
still a
forgot.
US only thing, which sucks.
It is.
And I think it might even be because of this. So now that they're switching to the Visa network, which is accepted in more places, I hope it comes to other countries as well.
Yeah, that'd be
Maybe.
cool.
But apparently, yeah, people have been creating new Apple Pay Cash accounts, or if you go to the Apple website, the card shows as a Visa debit. So yeah, hopefully means it'll be coming to other countries soon.
I specifically haven't just because I don't like the logo on the in the corner. I think it looks cleaner like this, so I just keep it the way it is.
All right.
You can deactivate it and reactivate it, and you'll get the Visa support. And I'm like, this looks. I prefer it like this, but yeah, it's cool that it will work in more places. Especially, I don't know if does Visa work over there?
Yeah, Visa's like accepted everywhere now.
Oh,
Even
perfect.
MasterCard. Yeah, the
Then,
main
yeah, I
ones are
would say
Visa and MasterCard.
that's probably their main motivation. I don't know why else they would switch.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I mean, yeah, as of right now, like I think the US is the only country that has Apple Pay Cash, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense because it's kind of like, why don't we have it here in the UK? And it's been out for how long? Like 5 or 6 years now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's something that I would use. I would use iMessage just for Apple Pay Cash. But yeah, it gives people another reason to use iMessage. I mean, so
True. Yeah, Apple needs that
so
now.
then some of my friends who use Apple can actually go and use iMessage instead of Messenger.
I hope they do bring it everywhere. I forget about how a lot of features I use are not outside my country.
Yeah, it sucks.
They're great. I love it.
It makes me want to move to the US even more. So
just
maybe
for that feature alone, I'll move.
Yeah, just or even just to have like features early, like even have Apple Card and things like that, which we don't even have here. Which I don't even know if they will come out with Apple Card anytime soon. But anyway,
yeah, probably not.
Yeah, do you guys have any other thoughts on this, or if not, Taylor, you can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't know about Drew, but
I think I'm convinced this means they want to expand it. That's I think the only reason they did it. So we'll see if I'm right, but that's my running prediction.
Yeah, same. Completely agree.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So next thing we're gonna be talking about is Android's vast global market mobile market share shrinks while iOS continues to grow.
Pretty exciting stuff. I was having a conversation the other day with someone on one of my videos on Instagram, and he was like, "Oh, who likes iPhones anymore? Android is the future." And I'm like, "You do realize that iPhones are still the best selling phones out there." I can't remember what he said to that, but still, like, It's pretty cool to see that still all of this time, like the OG smartphone manufacturer kind of are still like the best selling, and like they continue to grow, and a lot of people from Android are switching to iOS, which is pretty cool.
We're winning,
I mean,
guys.
yeah.
Woo! Let's go.
Yeah, there's very little changes in, the design and everything. Like, they make small changes every year.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like it's all the software and how everything's put together so
Right.
well. You know what I mean? Like that's what I love about it, is how everything just works together so well. I remember I switched to Android a couple years ago, and yeah, well, it was all right. I had the S3 at the time, but it was just the little things that I missed about, you know, um having an iPhone, like iMessage, FaceTime, things like that. And now, even more so, that I have an iPad, that I have the MacBook.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to switch my phone, I remember like there was times where I would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna switch to Android for a week," and I never did, because I just couldn't like live without the whole ecosystem
Yeah.
working together. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, man,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so complicated for me.
It's
You
a
know,
tough life.
Yeah. I think
wait,
it says something about
what'd you
like,
say, Benji?
yeah, he said tough
Is
life, I think.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, it's a hard life.
It's a
Something
hard
like that.
life.
Yeah, that's what I thought you
I
said.
can't I can't do the Android anymore. I can't. It's
I
too
hate
Yeah,
it.
it is though. It
It
is.
doesn't airdrop.
just
Doesn't airdrop. Doesn't
I
have
think it should say
iMessage.
My
something. If you
my thing
consider
is,
like
go ahead.
iPhones don't have the smallest bezels or the smallest notch. They don't
Mhm.
have the fastest charging. They don't have the smartest digital assistant. They don't have the most cameras. Many would say that iPhones don't even have the best cameras, and such and such Android has better periscope lens or better macro mode or better HDR, or there's all these things that Apple's not the best at, and yet they're still seeing more people switch to that side of the market. It's like, why is
Yeah,
that, you think?
yeah,
It's because, well, people probably value and prioritize things that Apple values and prioritize, which is exactly what you just said. It's the software and how it works together matters more to people than, oh, Galaxy phone has tiny hole, iPhone has big notch, or this phone has thinner bezel than this phone, or
mhm.
longer battery life. It's I don't think it's the hardware driving that market share growth.
No.
They definitely don't have the cheapest phones. That's for sure.
Oh
No,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, even nowadays, like we're seeing companies like Samsung like pricing their phones higher than iPhones and stuff.
Yep.
That might even be putting some people off from buying a Samsung device. But I mean, yeah, like I've experienced both Android and iOS, and just the way that everything with Apple works, and like how many people have good experiences with it compared to Android. Like a lot of people that I hear who use Android, they're like, "Oh yeah, I wish I had this, and that," or "I can't do this, I can't do that." And I'm like, "Look, I can just AirDrop, or I can just copy and paste from one device to another." And of course, there
Right.
are workarounds with Android and stuff like that, but they're like, the thing I love about Apple is it's simple. Like you unbox the phone and you can set it up and you can use it straight away. Your apps are there and
yeah,
everything. But then with an Android
Yep.
phone, you kind of have to build your home screen. You have to like go and turn settings on and off to make it look the way you want it to, or whatever. And I think
right.
that's what a lot of people want. They want a phone that just works, that's going to be
Mhm.
reliable. And like now with like the iPhone 13 lineup, it's fantastic. You have great battery life across the board, even if
Yeah.
the 13 mini isn't as good. And the pricing is pretty competitive when you compare it to some of the other devices out there. Like, of course, you've got the Pixel, which is a bit cheaper, but still,
Mhm.
not many people trust the Pixel brand anyway.
No.
But I mean, yeah, when you compare it to like the Samsung and the Xiaomi's of the world or whatever, people still trust Apple, even with the whole
Yeah,
privacy thing about how big Apple is on privacy.
Mhm.
I think that's also a big thing that drives their sales, and makes them take this big chunk of the market.
Yep.
right.
I think you're right. I think it's true.
Going back to what I was saying though, I just want to tell a quick story. I never forget one of my family members telling me, that she went to a work meeting and the power had gone out, and
Mm,
she said that the only devices that were working were the Apple devices. The rest were shut down and nobody could use it. And
really?
it just goes to
Wow.
show that, like, you know, I think that, like, some of the programs on iOS and, Apple side is just so far more superior than Android, in my opinion. I don't know.
I think
I
no. I
yeah,
agree
I
with.
guess I guess also the big advantage Apple has is they create the software, they create the like the silicon, they create the hardware and everything. So everything's like integrated together. But then you've got
Right.
like Android that Samsung builds the phone, and then sometimes they don't even build the chips themselves. They use
Right.
Snapdragon, and
Yep.
Yep.
then they have to like kind of morph everything together, make it work with Android, throw a skin on there. So there's a lot more going on there, and then they have to like force users to choose between two apps. Do you want to use Samsung messaging or Google messaging? And
Right. Right.
Right.
give people a lot of these choices that they don't want. They just want to buy a phone so they can message their grandparents or their parents or their children or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't need to like say, oh yeah, I want to use this app instead of this app because of this and that or whatever. Um,
They want the tech to
but
get
yeah,
out of the way. That's what they're
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
looking.
They
Exactly.
want it to just work, and Apple
Yeah.
just works. I mean, except from the odd bug that you get every now and then, but I mean
Sure
that's
it
only been in recent years. It
happens.
didn't used to be as bad, but
Mm.
You
yeah,
know what I don't get is why people complain, and I've said this before, Benji, is why people complain about the software updates. I've had people say that Apple gets more software updates than Android, which is completely true, I think. Um, but I would never complain about that. Like, honestly, I think the more software updates are better. Because it just betters your experience and it squashes all the bugs that you have in the software. So you kind of want that if you want to keep your device longer time. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So
Yeah,
that's my only thing with.
it's amazing how quickly phones will fall apart or software will just stop working when it doesn't get
Dude,
updated anymore. I
man.
talked to a lot of people that had Pixels after they got discontinued, and it was just like battery issues started coming up and apps started crashing. And it's like, this phone is 3 years old. It's not that old, and yet it can't handle a lot of these basic things. So that the people I've talked to would switch to an iPhone after that because they're like, well, I know it'll get updates for how many years? 6, 7 now?
Yeah,
A
yeah,
long
yeah.
time.
Like I had the S10 Plus for almost 3 years, and like over time, it felt like it kind of got slower in a way, but also like sometimes the animations weren't as smooth. Like they introduced gestures like a couple years ago, and the
Yeah.
gestures on One UI, at least on the S10 Plus that I had, was absolutely terrible. Like sometimes it wouldn't even register when I swiped up, or
Uh-huh.
certain things. It didn't feel the experience didn't feel as smooth as Apple, and then sometimes frames dropped and stuff like that. So very weird stuff, and battery life was pretty bad as well.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I think with the power that Apple has over all of their devices, they can give you a more optimized experience than the competition, and a lot of people like that, which is
For sure.
it's good.
Yeah.
But
Like,
anyway,
good on you, iOS. Well done.
just fix, just please fix bugs, and then make iPadOS actually a computer replacement instead of the joke that it is now.
yes,
But anyway,
yes.
anyway, we can move on. So now we're going to head into more Android and Google territory. We're not going to talk about the Pixel Watch. We have two different things about the Pixel Watch. So apparently, Google has filed trademark for Pixel Watch ahead of the device launch, which is exciting. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
that's not really something that we really want to go in like deep into the name. So moving on to the next topic after that.
Oh,
So there's somebody had the nerve to go to a restaurant and basically casually leave their Pixel Watch there for someone to find and take pictures of. I personally think this kind of stuff is staged, but I mean, you never know. It might have actually been an honest accident. So this guy, he got a hold of this. I don't know if it's a prototype or whatever. of this
A lot of
Pixel
people
Watch.
were
And
saying it was a
it
prototype.
looks, yeah, and it
Mm,
looks exactly like it does in the renders.
mhm.
Like it looks kind of like an Apple Watch but round. I think like
Yeah,
even the way I saw some of the renders of the like how the bands will slot in and stuff, and they kind of look like Apple
right.
Watch bands in a way, except
Uh-huh.
they're curved. But yeah,
Yeah.
what do you guys think about this this leak?
Who like takes a watch off somewhere and just sets it down on a table? Like,
Exactly, or even takes the band off and leaves the
I
thing
was
on the
gonna
yeah,
say, like, they even
because
took the band off and just left the watch there.
and it's a prototype.
I
yeah.
mean, that's just
Well, I think
insane.
this is kind of like my theory of what happened here. So basically, like this guy, he has a friend, and his friend's like, "Oh, I'd love to see the Pixel Watch. Okay, I'll show it to you." And then they kind of like have an agreement that this thing's gonna go public and people are gonna see this watch, but the
Uh,
owner is gonna remain anonymous. And so he's
I
like, "Oh yeah."
see.
He tells his friend, "Just pretend that you just found it in the restaurant, and that's fine." And that's probably what happened.
I
Because
see.
I don't like if I don't go into a restaurant and leave my watch there or my phone there without remembering, oh, I
Especially if
forgot it,
you're
and then
rocking a
go pick it up.
prototype.
Exactly, especially when you're walking around with a prototype that you're like, I'm not supposed to show this to anyone. If
Yeah.
anybody sees this, then it's pretty bad. But
I would wear like long sleeve shirts if I had the Series 8. I'd be covering it up and, trying to be as discreet about it as possible. This guy's straight up taking it off. I think your theory's correct. That sounds
Yeah.
very believable. It was
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah,
intentional.
I can't wait.
employee.
It's just like I gotta show somebody.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
either way, whoever is responsible for this, whoever left this watch, whether they set it up themselves or whether it was an accident, they're getting fired at either way.
Oh
If they
yeah,
get
yeah.
caught.
Unless this is Google's idea of trying to get the Pixel Watch in the news again, because it was kind of like we kind of went through a stale phase where there was no leaks or rumors. So Google was probably like, "Oh, hey, employee, go leave this watch in this random place." Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a number of different theories that we could discuss about how this came to
Google's
be,
done
but
like that early leak stuff before. I remember, I think it was the 3A or the 4A or something, but people were like in other countries unboxing them
oh
and
yeah, I
filming.
think it was the 3A. I remember that.
It was before they were even announced. They weren't
Yeah.
even like Google hasn't even announced it, and yet there's these like random channels unboxing it already and showing the camera. And I was like, okay, so clearly they're willing to ship these to people before they've even been announced. Like there wasn't even an event yet. So I could see them intentionally pulling this kind of stuff with the watch.
Yeah, because then they're controlling those leaks. Because I think the problem with Apple is
Yeah.
they're trying to control the leaks, but they can't. Like they just get out, and then the wrong stuff gets out, the wrong
And Google
information.
wants to feel special. They're like, see,
Yeah,
our
Google's
stuff
like,
leaks too.
Google's like, here's a leak. Don't make it look like it was us. Just
Right.
go and go
Oh
report
no,
it somewhere.
we're special. Someone leaked it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh no, one of our watches was left in a restaurant. I wonder
Calling out
who
to
did
John
that.
Prosser.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Probably the CEO of Google just randomly emails John Prosser like, "Here's pictures of Pixel Watch, please share."
Please talk about this. Get people to talk about this. Yeah.
Get people excited for this watch.
I
Based
actually
on-
To be honest, it looks like an exciting watch. I'm interested to see their take on smartwatches.
yeah, me too.
I've just been let down by Google so many times. Like I got super excited for the Tensor chip, and I thought that was going to be a big shift in their hardware strategy. And then it was like pretty bad, honestly. It was like
Yeah,
terribly
yeah.
inefficient in terms of power. Like 4,000, 5,000 milliamp hours in the 6 Pro, and it still was struggling to keep up with all other phones with less battery. And the performance of it was not particularly good. I mean, it was good at a handful of things like machine learning and algorithmic like photo editing, but people aren't doing that. I mean, that's most pictures posted online are from the default camera app with like no filter, no editing. So it's kind of cool that you have some algorithm stuff, but I was really unimpressed, and following Marquez's experience with the Pixel 6 and how buggy it's been for him and unreliable has just made me being like, Have you guys seen the Killed by Google website?
No.
No.
Someone made a
imagine it's full of
website
stuff.
just to list all the things that Google discontinued or killed off. So I get a very similar impression, like the Pixel Watch will probably exist for a little while, and then not enough people will buy it and they'll kill it off. Kind of like Google Daydream, or notice like no one talks about Pixel Buds anymore. Remember Pixel Buds?
Oh yeah. They
Like,
still exist. They still exist, but they're like they downgraded it. Like
Yeah.
I think the latest Pixel Buds aren't as good as the previous generation.
they're like they're around, but they're not like changing much. That's kind of what I expect from the Pixel Watch. It's like it'll be there. It's literally around, but it probably won't bump up against Apple Watch or anything major.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's probably gonna be there. Like they try to do that, but it'll probably end up being kind of like the Pixel, where like 6 generations in, they're like, "Oh, this is our first flagship smartphone."
Yeah.
like Pixel Watch 6, they're like, "Oh, this is our flagship smartwatch. You should go buy
Now
it."
we're really trying.
Exactly. It's like, weren't you trying the last year and the year before that? Weren't those flagships?
Right.
No, they weren't. They didn't
No.
have Google
No.
Tensor.
No.
That was a joke.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the real Pixel. Yeah. Those that had the issues with the screen burning and everything. No. Those weren't our phones. Those were just prototypes that people bought and still use
Yeah.
to this day. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to more pixely things. Unless Taylor, did you have any other thoughts about the Pixel Watch?
Nope.
All right.
Uh,
So Pixel 6 Pro, I mean, it's already out and everything, but apparently it was
Yeah.
supposed to launch with Face Unlock, according to some sources,
What?
which makes sense. But why didn't they add it?
We're
It's like,
supposed
on Android, it's not a hard thing to add. You literally just like it's 2D. So
Oh, the 2D face unlock. It didn't have.
yeah,
the
I think
sensor
that's
for
what
that.
I think that's what it was supposed to have. I don't think it was like a
Oh, gotcha.
3D facial scanning thing. I think
I see.
Apple is like the only company that's doing one right now.
Really? Wow.
That's doing like the 3D face scanning thing. Because I mean, I think Huawei did it.
That's
Or
what
I
I
can't
was.
remember who
Yeah.
it was.
Huawei
I
had
think
a.
yeah, but I think now like most phones they just have the punch hole display thing. So I don't think they have like
Mhm.
3D sensors like Apple does.
No.
That's one of the reasons why Apple still has the notch.
Right.
Or maybe not, because I mean the MacBook Pro has a notch, but it doesn't have Face ID.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know why Google, like, I think it's been years. I think there was just one Pixel that had Face Unlock.
The
I'm trying to
4
think. The 4. Yeah,
with
it might
the
have been the
solid
4.
chip.
Yeah, and then the next one didn't have it, or I mean the Pixel 6 doesn't have it.
Mhm.
And it would just make sense. Like at all the other phones on the market, like even Samsung has Face Unlock.
It's just
And
Google underappreciating software. It's like there's a certain amount of time and investment that needs to go into development of software, and they keep assuming they don't need to put as much in. And I think that's why they're
yeah.
getting these half-baked experiences out there, is because they think, oh, we don't need to invest that much, and then these kinds of things happen where it's like, oh, it was supposed to, but we ran out of time.
Exactly. It's kind of like
Yeah.
all of their failed messaging apps. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is great."
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, so yeah, so that's Pixel. Taylor, do you want to talk about the next one? Samsung.
So, yep. So, Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 won't have a bigger battery, but the inner screen will be wider.
Which probably means
Oh.
worse battery.
Yeah. I guess the battery will be bad.
But maybe even a bigger outer display, because it's like the inside is bigger. Would make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Huh. Inner screen will be wider.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make the outer screen wider too?
Hopefully, I hope that's what it means, because as of right now, the thing's barely usable. Like I tried one in a store and I was like, who can use this little display? Well, it's not that it's
Yeah.
a little display, it's just a weird aspect ratio. Like you can't watch a YouTube video comfortably on that. You
I
have to
agree.
open the phone,
Yeah.
which means like most of the time when you use the Z Fold 3, you have to like open it up and use the inside display instead of, and still
Right.
even then the thing's a weird aspect ratio. So I mean, if they made it wider, I think it'd be cool if they kind of made it more of kind of like an iPad in a way, like a landscape
Yeah.
iPad mini or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that just folds in half and then has a decent outer display as well.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
I think aspect ratios was the biggest issue I had with the Z Fold 2. It was like the OS and the apps on the Play Store don't know how to adopt. It's like unfolded, it's like a square, and folded up, it's like a TV remote. It's super skinny and
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's
it is a bit better with I think with the Z Flip 3, but the Z Fold 3, but it's still not as good.
right.
It's not as good as it could be.
So I'm glad they're
So
addressing my biggest concern.
yeah, because I mean, the phone is getting like the foldables Samsung's making are slightly getting better every year. I've been noticing
They
that,
are, yeah.
Oh
but
yeah.
still, like they've got a lot of issues, like the crease in the
Oh yeah,
middle. For like the units that I've tried, the crease in the middle is it's not
Yeah.
nice.
I'm not
they still have a long way to go before it's, and I mean, no device is gonna be perfect, but still,
Yeah,
I
but I
think.
think
Go
I
ahead.
think if they want people to, if they want people to adopt foldable phones and they start using them, they have to iron out all of these
Yeah,
little
yeah,
trade-offs that you get, like the cur like the that even the screen protector coming off. Like I saw an article the other day, somebody was peeling off the screen protector on the, I think it was the Z Fold 2 or whatever, and like just destroyed the whole phone.
yep.
yeah,
Like just
yeah.
little things like that. I think that I think is why Apple hasn't made a foldable yet, is because like the technology just it's improving, but it's not at the point where it's actually worth doing.
Right,
Yeah, if that makes sense. But
right.
There's way too many compromises. And I'm not sure they'll ever go away because it's like even with scaling and volume production, you can't eliminate the fact that a normal rectangular phone doesn't have to have a hinge, and displays that don't warp and could just be fixed and have glass are always going to feel more premium and more solid than a display that's flexible in plastic, because it's got to have that crease and you can scratch it with your fingernail, and you have to just add a lot more circuitry and batteries and complexity whenever you have a hinge in the middle of your
Mhm.
device, which is going to
Yeah,
drive the price up. So even if we say, okay, let's say by the time the Z Fold 4 comes out, it's like $1,000 now instead of 1,800 or whatever. At that point, you'll be able to get a really solid normal phone for probably $500, and so that the gap between them, I think, will always be pretty equal, like as it is now. Even if the price of foldables drops, there will be even more affordable premium phones.
yeah, I mean the foldable, like the whole foldable thing, I think it's like I don't like the fact that they're trying to be a phone that turns into a tablet kind of thing. I think it will make more sense. Like foldables will make sense if they were kind of like an iPad mini that folds in half that could fit in your pocket. That you can also use as a phone if you want to, but I think the tablet should be the main function because people want to be carrying this thing in their bag, or like women that carry around handbags or whatever. They want to throw their
Yeah,
tablet in there, I
yeah,
guess, and that makes sense.
yeah.
Like something like the Surface Duo, I think it's called, or whatever.
mhm,
But I mean, still, they're like, I don't like the application with the whole hinge thing that they have over there, the two
yeah,
different screens. But if
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
Samsung did make something like a Z Fold 3, and it had a larger outer display, the inner display was better, and the software was actually optimized properly. Like I
yeah,
like what they did, I think a couple months ago, where they kind of updated One UI to work better with foldables. And even Google themselves are working on improving Android for foldables and stuff. But still, I think even when foldables are going to be good, I think as you said, Drew, like I think people are still going to go for the good old slab. It works.
yeah.
Um,
What they
it
know.
Yeah, it's what they know, and I think like foldables, I don't think are even going to be mainstream before AR becomes mainstream. Like I think AR is going to catch up a lot quicker, and that's going to be what we're going to be transitioning to. We're not going to be having this stepping stone of foldables to then go to the AR, because I mean there's a lot of companies that are working on AR now, so it's only a matter of a couple of years and it will start becoming a mainstream thing. And Apple's going to come out with their own AR VR headset, and that's going to change things as well, I think.
I think you're right. That's far more interesting to the general market. We've had foldables for what, 3-4 years now, and they still aren't really capturing that large a percentage of the market. They've gotten cheaper, they've gotten better, and they're still just kind of, they're around, but they're not selling in any kind of meaningful volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I guess, yeah, we'll have to see what happens with these foldables. It's going to be interesting to see what Samsung does this year with the Z Fold 4 and even the Z Flip 4. Very interesting to see that. But I guess moving on to our next story of the episode, and then we're going to move into a couple of questions real quick. Okay. So Elon Musk, just a couple of hours ago, or before we recorded this, we started recording this show. I don't know if you saw, Drew, but Elon Musk has successfully agreed with Twitter, and apparently the deal is going through. Elon Musk is officially going to be the owner of Twitter within the next few hours, I'm assuming. So there's been a lot of people that have been saying bad things about it. There's a lot of good things about it. So yeah, Elon Musk buys Twitter for 44 million, or I think it's like 45 billion. Yeah, not million. That would have been stupid. $46.5 billion. That is a lot of money. Elon Musk's, like, I mean, he's the richest man in the world. He could buy whatever he wants. But yeah, what are your guys' honest opinions on Elon Musk buying Twitter and taking it private as well?
I like most of what he's said he wants to do with the platform, which is mostly get rid of the crypto scam bots, which annoy the crap out of me. There's so many of them, and I don't know how Twitter hasn't addressed those yet. And the second thing is he really wants an edit button. And I've been advocating for an edit button for years. It's like no other platform has this issue. It's just Twitter. Discord lets you edit messages. Facebook lets you edit messages. YouTube lets you edit thumbnails, titles, descriptions. There's so much, even videos to a certain extent can be edited after posting. There's so much easy ways to prevent that one concern of people like, well, what if you tweet something and it gets really popular and then they change the tweet? It's like you just put a little edited tagline with a link to the original. Here's what the first tweet did say. Or another option is to nullify all retweets and likes. If someone edits the tweet, undo all the retweets, undo all the likes. So the tweet basically starts from scratch. The other option is to limit how many characters, like you can edit 5 characters max. So you can't like change the entire nature of the tweet, but you could add an apostrophe or change the typo. That's what most people are asking for, is like, I hate sending out a tweet, then finding out, oh, I missed one little thing. Now I got to delete the entire tweet, but people will still see it for like an hour and then tweet it the whole thing over again. So I don't know why it's so complicated to add, but he said he's in favor of it. And, on the more political side of things, I'm not like in favor of everybody coming back who's been banned, but at the same time, I'm like, Twitter's a company with shareholders, and the shareholders and the board voted in favor of this. So it's their decision, not mine. I'm not a shareholder. And if they decided this is what they wanted their business to do, then I say that's their right. That's their call. But I do think they have a lot of power in the world now, just as how many people are on Twitter and how much of a public platform it is. And I don't agree or disagree with either side completely. It's not like I agree with everything Elon says or I disagree with everything Twitter does. There's definitely been some decisions Twitter has made that I've been like, yeah, that was the right call. But there's been others where I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that was. They just have a very small number of people in control of a very large platform. So I'm in favor of making that more open. And Elon did say that they want the Twitter algorithm to be open source so everybody understands how it works. And I'm in favor of the transparency and the honesty because I'm a biased Apple sheep, and that's kind of how I kicked off my whole YouTube career, was just to come forward and say, hey everyone, here's what I'm biased towards. So being transparent, I value, and saying,
Sure.
how the algorithm is catered or what it's skewed toward or biased towards, I think is a good thing. So, again, don't agree with everything. I don't know what's going to happen necessarily, like what the next 5 days or the next few steps are going to be for Twitter, but most of the stuff he's talked about all sounds like changes I'd like them to make. So I guess
even the whole thing with like free speech and like not censoring as many people, because I think there are a lot of people out there that are sharing their opinions, but then like because people don't like their opinions, they think they should be on Twitter or whatever, and Twitter bans them or whatever. So I even like that aspect of what Elon Musk wants to change. He kind of wants to make it a platform where you can go and you can talk about anything you want. Like, yes, it could also be a bad thing because then you've got people talking about racism and things like that.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, but I guess giving people more freedom also, I think, gives them more responsibility in a way, because they have to think like, oh yeah, yes, I'm going to be able to say this, but who is it going to go and affect and things like that.
It's public.
Yeah,
it's on the record forever.
Exactly, and I'm really excited to see what Elon Musk brings to the company, what changes he's going to make. Like, who knows? Maybe he's not even going to change that much, because I mean, he loves Twitter already, and of course, there are a couple of problems with Twitter that he seems to want to address and fix.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next couple weeks, months, and years bring. Now that Elon Musk is the owner of Twitter, now that he owns a social media platform. So this man's pretty much done it all now at this point. He's got a rocket company. He's got a car company. He has a tunnel building company. Now he wants to go to. He's going to go to Mars and set up a whole Mars colony, and
So what do you
basically
think?
going to run the world.
No, I mean, hey, as long as we get that edit button for me, I think
that's your one request. You're like, that's all I want.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, like, I'm so used to Twitter how it is. So honestly, like, there's not much that is really needed. So
yeah,
in my opinion, anyway,
I would encourage people, because what's funny to me is when this announcement was made this morning, there was rumors of it already happened. There were so many people that were just like, oh, I'm leaving. We all got to quit, like leave the platform. It's like, if you don't follow the news and you don't just read about what's going on, just keep using Twitter the way you normally use it, and let me know when the differences start becoming clear. Because I honestly don't think that much is going to change at the end of the day.
A few minutes. Go ahead, Benji.
It's not like Elon Musk is now the dictator of Twitter and he's going to say, you can't do this, you can't do that. You shouldn't say that.
Quite the opposite, honestly.
Yeah, quite the opposite. He's like, yeah, you can say whatever you want. Anybody can be on Twitter. Of course, there still will be guidelines, I'm sure. But I think it'll be a lot more of an open platform where people can just go express their opinions and not be judged for it. They will be judged for it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be judged.
Exactly.
But not be silenced for it. And that's
exactly.
That's a complex subject, because it's not victimless. There's a lot of issues with free speech, especially when there's calls to violence and that kind of thing. And there's discrimination, of course, of all kinds. And I'm absolutely against that, but it's a whole different playing field you're describing when you're saying, should those people not have a voice? I understand why people say no. I understand the perspective of some people saying, like, no, they shouldn't be able to speak on this subject, or so-and-so shouldn't be able to talk. But I think it's a slippery slope when you get to a point of, well, this board or this small group of software engineers basically gets to decide what is and isn't okay to talk about. And there's a lot of things that they've banned or silenced people on that I've agreed with, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I will always agree with them. In fact, it's highly unlikely that I will forever agree with them. Just because we found something to agree on one subject doesn't mean we'll always agree with them on every subject. So it's a tough call, but I get the argument on both sides essentially, because there's a lot of hurt and there's a lot of misinformation, of course, that gets spread, and I acknowledge and appreciate that Elon is at least putting time and his own money into this and saying like, this deserves more attention because it's very influential. So I want to get involved. And there's a lot of decisions and a lot of things Elon said that I don't agree with, and a lot of things I've been like, no, I don't, and I'm not just talking about Tesla. I'm talking about political subjects that he's talked about. I've just not agreed with, but it's unrealistic to assume that you can find anybody to be in charge of Twitter that would be in complete agreement with you on every subject. That's not going to happen. So what I look for is common ground in values. And I value the aspect that people have the right to be wrong. And we should be able to continue having a conversation to prove how wrong they are. Like I love being able to get in it with someone who is convinced in their ways, and I know for a fact that they are denying reality, and I have a way to prove my argument. Like, let's keep that conversation going, even if they're so abundantly wrong that they normally on previous Twitter would get banned. It's like, oh, let's have at it. And if you don't want to talk to them, block them. That's still a thing. They're not getting rid of the block option. It's like
true.
You won't. Maybe they'll just introduce that you can't. You can block anyone but Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is automatically followed when you create an account.
Right.
and he's pinned to the top of your no.
Everyone has to follow Elon. That'd be funny. Yeah.
Elon automatically becomes the king of Twitter.
I'm not saying he will make no mistakes or he will not make a single bad decision, but I am still very interested to watch it unfold.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess we'll see. I'm really excited to see what changes come. Whether good or bad.
I just want the edit button.
Yeah, exactly. Don't we all?
Yeah.
But I guess moving on to a question. Now we're going to move on to like some questions that we had for you, Drew. And this one is related to Elon Musk and Tesla in general. And Taylor, do you want to ask him that question?
Sure. So, do you think Tesla will ever make a smartphone? I know that's been like the talk for a while, but
for years they've been talking about
it.
I've seen people make videos on it, but never with any legitimate evidence. I've never seen a credible source claim Tesla is making a phone or thinking about making a phone, but I frankly just don't think it aligns with their mission statement much. And Elon thinks a lot bigger than that. Like he's thinking about crazy things like the Tesla bot and Neuralink and implanting computers and electronics into our brains. I think he views smartphones as yesterday's tech. He's like, that's already kind of peaked and matured. And they have enough on their plate already with trying to ramp up the vehicles that they're super late on. And the smartphone industry as a whole, I believe, is starting to decline. Like it blew up and got big really quickly, but now it's kind of plateauing and there's less and less phones sold total each year. So I don't see why Tesla would see the point. It's electric, it's I don't know what Tesla thinks their technology could offer to the smartphone world. So I'm just going to say it'll never happen. That's my prediction. But there's always a chance Elon could. I think if Tesla does make a phone, it'll be because Elon's not at the company.
Right.
I could see
Yeah,
him
most
going
likely.
all in on SpaceX or flying to Mars, so he's not at Tesla anymore, and maybe Tesla's just a big brand now, like a Samsung or a Google, and they're like, well, we have AI and robotics and cars, so might as well make phones too. But it's such a complicated. I mean, Amazon couldn't even get it right. They tried with the
Yeah.
Fire Phone,
True.
and
True.
Oh yeah.
it's such a competitive, crowded market, and people do not like switching platforms. People like sticking with what they know. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think it would do very well, and I think they know that. So I'm going to predict never, never will there be a Tesla phone, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
because I mean, so it's like some of the rumors that people are going out with, like in terms of the Tesla phone, it's like it's gonna have satellite. No, not satellite. It's gonna have like solar
Starlink.
charging. It's gonna have
Oh yeah.
like what else? Oh yeah, it's gonna have Neuralink built in or what?
Oh
It's some
yeah.
Right.
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It could
I'm
probably
all
even
set with
like
that.
it'll probably even like turn into a rocket and fly into space. Or I don't like. There's some people like it's so funny
Airplane
though. Like
mode.
you go onto YouTube and you type in like Tesla phone, and then there's some people that are like Tesla phone just announced. Elon Musk
Oh, I
talks
know.
about Tesla phone. It's like no, you go watch the
YouTube
video.
has
It's like
gotten
complete
so
clickbait.
bad with the clickbait. It's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
it's not. It's no bueno. It's not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to go see some of these people though. It's like they sound so confident in saying it. They're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Elon Musk said that he's working on a phone. It's gonna
Right.
be amazing. It's gonna be able to make your bed. It's gonna be able to drive your car." Sure, I'm sure it
Yeah.
will. You keep
That's
dreaming.
funny.
We're probably gonna make it to Mars before Tesla makes a phone.
Right.
Um,
No, I believe
but
that.
yeah,
I personally believe that.
most likely. Oh yeah, and also another rumor about it was that is that the phone's gonna be built to work on Mars, and it's gonna have like satellite connectivity and whatever. Like how
Oh my
can
god.
we've not even been to Mars yet? How do you exactly build a phone that works on Mars if you can't even go there? But anyway,
Got
um,
T-Mobile towers up there already. Good to go.
yeah. So speaking of products, we wanted to move more into the Apple ecosystem side of things.
Yes.
What are like some Apple products or a Apple product that you're looking forward to the most this year? That you
Ooh.
think you might purchase?
I'm really hoping that they do another external monitor with 120 hertz, just because I got that on my MacBook and I love it, and I got it on my phone and my iPad, and I've just gotten so used to that. Now every time I use a display that isn't 120, it's very noticeable. So I enjoyed reviewing the studio display, but it was definitely like a bit choppier than what I'm used to. So
Mm.
Ross Young claims they're doing a mini LED display with 120 hertz. I don't 100% believe him, but if they do, I'm fairly interested in that one. Um,
Mhm.
I'd also like to see updated version of AirPods Pro, just because it's been the exact same version since 2019, and the battery life, even on day one, was not very good of AirPods Pro. But I use these so much. I use these for podcasts, and I use these for mowing the lawn and when I go on flights. And because I've had them since day one, I noticed the battery health deteriorating, and I may be coming up on that time of year where I'm like, I think I need to replace these. And there's talk that there's going to be a newer version later in the year. So I guess the external monitor and AirPods Pro are high on my list, just because I'm very happy with my MacBook Pro and I spent way too much money on it last year. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to keep that for a while, hold on to that. No need to replace it anytime soon. And I feel the same way about my phone. Is like I'm not terribly excited for the 14 Pro. It just the eye hole doesn't look better than the notch, in my opinion. And the camera on this is fantastic. The battery life is great. So I'm not really that interested in the new iPhone. Same thing with the watch. I love the 7, and I don't really feel a need for the 8. So the only things on my upgrade list right now are AirPods and maybe a monitor. But uh, iPad is useless until iPad OS gets better.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
like which iPad? You have the 2018
Yeah,
iPad still, right? Yeah,
yeah.
I picked one up a couple of weeks ago, and it like the thing feels like brand new. Like it still
Oh, it's
works
amazing.
completely fine.
It's
Like
aged
I don't
I gotta
feel,
pick
well.
one up. I gotta pick
and
one up
also
one day.
like, and also when you compare like the 2018 iPad Pro to the current one, like really the only big things you're missing out on is the M1 chip, and yeah, maybe center stage.
Big. When
It's
you're
not even
on
that big.
I,
when you're on an iPad, the difference between A12X and M1 is like
Yeah,
try
no.
to find the difference without opening Geekbench. It's very hard.
Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
this thing just like flies through everything I throw at it. It doesn't
Oh
like
yeah.
it's never lagged or anything. Like yes, it may like lag with certain apps that I haven't tried yet, just because it has a lower amount of RAM than the new one. But still, it's like
iPadOS
iPadOS is
doesn't
pretty
know
good
what
with
to
RAM
do with
management.
more RAM.
Yeah, unless they
It's
bring Final Cut Pro to the iPad, I don't think it makes any sense to get a
right.
new one.
No, there's
Right.
with the current state of iPadOS, there's very little reasons to upgrade. And it's been almost 4 years since I got that thing, and I'm still like, yeah, it's center stage is kind of nice, but I'm not willing to spend hundreds of dollars just for center stage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. I think also going back to what you're saying, I completely agree as well. Like one of the products that I'm looking forward to the most is AirPods Pro, simply because we haven't seen an update for them in ages. And even
Almost 3 years.
mine are starting to age a little bit.
Yeah.
And definitely need an upgrade. And it'll be cool to see if they actually do a redesign as well, and how that redesign will look like, how it'll
Oh,
function, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but I'm also kind of excited for the iPhone 14 Pro, because I mean I've got the
Mm.
13 mini, I love it, but I'd love to have like a third camera, and even 8K video recording would be really cool for like
Mm.
YouTube B-roll and stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
to like zoom in even
I
more if I have to.
I don't know about you guys, but I've said this. Now I have the iPhone 12 Pro.
Uh-huh.
Ever since I've gone Pro, I don't want to go back. Like all I want to
Yeah,
get is a Pro phone. Honestly, it's
that's
just so
fair.
good.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do with the 14 Pro.
I think it'll be a huge emphasis on the cameras.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
That's for
sure.
sure. I don't
Yeah, because I mean
What?
think there's
they're shopping at the main sensor, so
right.
Yeah,
That should be very good, but I honestly am still wowed and really impressed with the main on the 13 Pro Max. This has been
yeah.
fantastic. It's taken a ton of pictures and video. I switched to this as my daily tech video camera rig when I went to Puerto Rico, and I thought it looked great. A lot of people thought the same thing. They
Yeah,
couldn't even tell it was on the iPhone.
yeah, I saw those videos and they were amazing. All your
Yeah.
videos are awesome, man. Like
Oh,
you do
thank you.
so well.
That's not true, but I appreciate it.
Man,
and it's still great to see that you're still on the 60 frames a second team, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, 60 frames, of course. I would if YouTube
Everyone still
supported
complains.
120, I would upload in 120. They
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I love the higher refresh rate. It just feels more natural. It feels more real or closer to life. So I try to do that
yeah.
whenever I can.
Yeah. I switched back to like 38 frames per second just because my camera doesn't support 60.
Oh yeah,
It's only
can't run
4K
them all. Same
30.
with my MacBook
But I mean,
webcam is 30.
yeah. So that kind of sucks, but I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so moving on to the next question.
Mhm.
Where do you see like tech in the next 10 years? Do you think we're gonna be like walking around with foldable phones, AR glasses, flying cars? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've been honestly investing a lot more time and money into the EV space because I think that's what's picking up a lot of traction right now. And I think that the smartphone market is kind of plateauing. They're kind of running out of meaningful
Yeah.
upgrades, and it's getting harder and harder for people to justify upgrading their phone because they're like, my last one is just. It's not that phones are bad; it's just they've all gotten so good, and
Hmm.
it gets progressively harder each year to top what you did the year before. So I predict we're going to get a lot more of the same of what we've been getting, which is just Okay, the camera is a little bit better, the display is a little bit brighter, the storage is a little bit more, the silicon is a little bit faster. But yeah, I think Apple seems to be pivoting their business mostly towards services, which is a lot less exciting and a lot less fun to talk about. We don't like getting around a circle and talking about Apple could come up with Find My Plus, and they could make a $5 a month subscription for you to track down all your items. It's like we don't care about subscriptions. That's not interesting. We want
They
hardware.
could be listening to this podcast, so I'm kidding.
That's true. They're gonna hear our ideas now. But yeah, I think Apple's trying to, and arguably the right decision for Apple, as they've become like a multi-trillion-dollar brand now, is they're just trying to play things safe, which is
yeah.
like securing their future. They're trying to come up with recurring software revenue so that they're not so dependent on like iPhone sales spiking once a year.
Yeah. And that's what I say to like the majority of like my friends and family who have Androids. They keep saying, "Oh, Android's done this first. Android's done,"
Oh yeah.
And it's just like,
who asked?
Yeah.
First of all, yeah, who asked?
That's what
Who
I
asked
said to
you?
some guy the other day. Android always had this for years. Anyway, sorry.
It's like, so what? But
right.
But no, I think that like when they do it good, and they do it in a way that is just like perfect. You know what I mean? So that's just me. But
Apple waits on things a lot. In fact, they're pretty much never the first to something. I can't think of that many things they did first.
Because I mean, smartphones will be kind of the first thing you think about, but still, there were still smartphones back then.
There were touch oriented smartphones before the iPhone that came out, but you don't talk about them. You don't hear about them anymore because they being first doesn't really matter. Like you said, it's about who does it best. It's about who does it right. And that's what Apple tries to get down. It's never been like we want to be the first to this market or first to this. It's like we want to be the best at this market. So
I feel, and I don't know about you, Drew, but I feel like especially Samsung is one of those companies that like, rushes into things. I feel like the foldable was just so rushed. And that's why that first one just flopped. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was literally breaking on the review units, like
yeah.
The media was getting prototypes and breaking them. They were like, "Oh, what? This doesn't work." It's like they're
this is a screen protector? What?
I tweeted to Benji, and I'm just like, man, this thing is just this thing is not gonna do well. You watch.
Yeah.
And that week, you start seeing all the articles coming out, and I'm just like, I told you so. Like,
Samsung strikes again.
It's a classic example of just like,
seriously,
it's fun. It's fun for us in the tech community to be like, oh, here's a new prototype. Like Samsung likes to sell their R&D projects to people. It's kind of fun for us. How cool would it be if Apple started selling a foldable iPhone? It's like it wouldn't necessarily be good, but it would be fun to talk about, like it would be fun to unbox and say like, wow, it runs iOS and iPadOS. So does it get a calculator app? I don't know. There's
no.
It'd be a fun. Does it have Type-C or Lightning? Is it an iPad? Is it an iPhone? So it's Type-C, of course, but it would be fun. But Apple, of course, plays things very safe and very calculated, whereas Samsung likes to give us fun prototypes, but they're not great daily drivers for a lot of people. And that's why they don't sell at as high volume as Apple does. So it's like, this is what a tech reviewer wants, but this is what everyday people want. It's like the difference between Apple and everyone. So I hope they can get the glasses working. I think Apple's really in need of some kind of big thing.
Oh, yeah.
They've just been doing iterations for so long now. And probably
services.
Yeah, more services. And I guess we got AirTags last year, which was kind of cool, but not huge. It was like already that product existed. We just got the Apple version of that product. But I do think that their company is in need of some kind of breakthrough like that. Like it's been so long since the Apple Watch launched or AirPods, it's everything's iterations. So
Right.
I'm ready for them to mix things up a bit and take a risk. Do something crazy. Do something different.
Yeah.
A bit
For
more
sure.
Steve Jobs-esque,
Yeah.
I
What are your thoughts on the next gen like Apple Watch? What's next for the Apple Watch, do you think?
I bet they're asking themselves that question because they're kind of already bumping up against the limits of what they could do. I mean, every year we hear about some new sensor, like a glucose monitoring or blood pressure, but it's really difficult to get approval for those things. And they just, every year it gets pushed back again. So I'm like, I want it to happen, but it's unrealistic to assume that like every couple of years they can think of another new health sensor because there's only so many health sensors in the world they can put on this tiny little box. So I feel like it's kind of peaked. I guess they could do, they're rumored to do a more rugged, durable version that's like meant to be outdoorsy and, get banged up a lot and stuff. So they're kind of moving in that direction, which makes sense. You got to diversify once you've run out of new features. You just got to, okay, now we'll make a rugged version. Now we'll make a cheaper version or plastic version. I don't know. Like they got to diversify, mix things up a bit. So
do you think they'll ever go round or stick to like what they're doing now?
They seem to have had a lot of success with what they're doing now. I'm not entirely convinced that the round display would make the experience substantially better. It's just an aesthetic choice. But yeah, I guess if they run out of things to do, they might have to go round just to be like, okay, we can do it too. But especially with displaying text and information, it's a lot harder to do with a round display. And
as you know, I'm currently on this new channel. Excuse me. And I'm gonna be testing different watches, low price to high range watches. And I was testing this watch that I bought, $34. And believe it or not, this watch actually, the battery life actually was lasted me a week.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was impressive with all the features that it had. Now, I was even texting Benji about it. I was just like, I feel like some of the calculations when it comes to like steps and like different exercise stuff is very miscalculated. There was some days where I felt like I wasn't walking half the steps that it was telling me that I was walking. I feel like it was more. Telling me like whenever I raised my hand, it would like, count that.
I see.
In a way. Yeah. So I don't know. Like it kind of left me thinking, is this actually what I'm doing, or is this, miscalculation? But I love the watch. I mean, I actually have the box right here that I got it. And honestly, like, I don't know if you can see that, but
wow,
yeah.
$34.
Yeah, it was crazy. And like the amount of features it has, surprisingly, I was like, I can't believe it. Like for $34 and all these features, it has like water reminders and everything.
Wow.
That personally, I never told you, Benji, but that personally got annoying, and that's why I switched back to the Apple Watch mainly, because I was so annoyed.
I received a message. Oh wait, no, it's telling me to drink water. I have no friends.
You don't even know. And that's another thing that I noticed was that the vibrations, like how with Apple Watch it's different for each notification. With this watch, it's one type of vibration for everything, and it's just like what
I'm
the heck?
surprised it can vibrate at all for $34.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
the fact that it can
I
do
was
anything.
surprised. The only downside, which I understand because it's $34, is that you couldn't answer calls or messages. You could actually see it, but you couldn't do it
Oh,
through the watch. But that's about it.
huh, that's cool.
I'm making my review video. Hopefully it'll be that. It's actually done. Like I could release it now if I wanted to, but
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna just wait until like the first and then go from there.
Nice.
And then I also have actually I'm gonna be recording with another YouTuber tonight.
Whoa,
And talking
you
about
guys
the
are
Pixel Watch.
busy.
Yeah, so I'm trying to keep myself busy. Like honestly, I'm just home all the time now.
Uh-huh.
So
Same.
this keeps me like really busy between doing the podcast, now doing the new channel, doing
Uh-huh.
videos and stuff like that. So I just want to keep
Well, that's
myself
good.
busy because honestly just sitting around doing nothing is doing nothing for me.
For sure. No, that's
you
good.
know, so but
That's
Benji,
awesome.
is there anything else you want to talk about or
No, I think that's
I
everything. I
can't
think we've
believe
taken enough
we're
of Drew's time.
going.
It's been almost a
It's
2 hour
late for you,
podcast.
isn't it, Benji?
Oh, it's 10:30. I'm usually up till like early hours of the morning anyway. So,
Oh, okay. So
um,
this is normal for you.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. I'm a night owl. So, and then I just like
Cool.
wake up halfway through the afternoon, but it's all right. Um, so yeah, so it was great to chat with you and to catch up on a couple of things as well.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
fun.
definitely.
It was good. Yeah. Do you have any questions for us before we wrap things up?
Or a comment, but I like your guys' backgrounds. What camera are you using, Benji?
It's a Lumix G7.
Oh, nice. And how did you make your background, Taylor?
So, my friend did. We were actually going to be doing a different kind of show over on Facebook.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but it just kind of like died down.
I see.
So I actually told him, I'm like, if you want to take your wall back, he moved into a new house and it's a lot
Oh,
smaller than what it was
I see.
before.
Yeah.
We used to do it over at his house and then we switched to mine.
Uh-huh.
So he's just like, nah, just keep the wall. A lot of people, I had already streamed a couple of times on my tech
Oh, okay.
channel, and a lot of people loved it.
Uh-huh.
So he's just like, you keep it, do whatever you want with it. So this
That's
is,
cool.
and it's just one wall.
Yeah.
He even suggested doing the whole room with this wall, but
Whoa.
I don't know.
I love that look,
Maybe in the
though.
future.
It's a
Yeah,
cool
it's
pattern.
really nice. I really like it. I feel like over here, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's like coming off a little bit, so it needs to
Oh,
get a
really?
little bit.
I
It needs
couldn't tell.
to get fixing a little bit, but
But
I really love it. I really do. I
sweet.
used to do all my streams and stuff over at my desk.
Uh-huh.
Lighting sucked. So I think now this lighting is a lot better. you know.
That's cool.
So
Well,
yeah.
I like the mics and the camera setups you guys have going. They look cool. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I got
Yeah.
to
Thank
step it
you.
up. I'm just on my laptop.
Yeah. So something I would suggest, like you can see kind of like a little bit of a light in the background. I got this
Yeah.
like sunset lamp from TikTok. It was like $1,
Oh,
and it,
wow.
it, it looks really cool in the background. So
$1. My God.
yeah,
That's a good deal.
I
You
was
guys
I
have
was
all the
I
good
was
deals.
I was shocked when like somebody on TikTok was like, "Oh yeah, that's only $1." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I ordered it. I was like, "Oh, actually, very
For
cheap
me, like,
quality, but I mean, it works.
yeah.
That's cool. Makes the
For me,
background look
like,
better than just a window, and that's
true.
it."
Oh,
True.
sure.
A lot of people think, like, I keep saying this, a lot of people think that you need to go all out with stuff. Just start
Mm,
small and then work your way up.
for sure. I think that's good advice. That's a
Yeah.
good
So
way to look at it.
Yeah.
definitely.
Upgrade the small things over time, and eventually you have a decent setup.
For sure.
Definitely. Definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
But anyway,
Thanks for having me.
awesome.
thanks
Appreciate it.
again.
Oh, thank
Sorry
you,
Yeah,
my
man.
thanks
voice is
again.
so bad.
Oh,
No
it's all
worries.
right.
It's fine. At least we could understand you, and hopefully
Yeah.
you stop
Exactly.
COVID. Hopefully it's not COVID either.
Yeah, I hope
But
not.
yeah, for those who are watching or listening, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. And if you watched or listened to the whole thing, you're absolute legends as well. If you guys want to follow me, Taylor, or Drew, all the links will be in the description below as always, or in the show notes. This was episode 29 of the Tech Unlocked podcast, and we will catch you guys next week.